Hi guys, welcome back to Big K Crypto, and today I will be answering one of the most popular questions asked by new people wanting to get into the Bitcoin and crypto space, which is Bitcoin safe? Now, before we dive in, if you want to keep up to date with all things Bitcoin, crypto and passive income related, then please make sure you hit the subscribe button and that little notification bell, and you'll be updated with all of the new videos that I'm doing weekly. And finally as well, we have our disclaimer. So of course, I'm not your financial advisor and this is not any financial advice whatsoever. A lot of people are convinced that digital currencies and coins are going to change the world, and they're flipped at the prospect of investing in Bitcoin, the digital currency that coined the idea in the first place. Now, I personally think the idea of minting this new currency is cool as well. But before you go and lose your heads, you should remember to always watch your tail. Because no matter how cash a new technology is, you always have to know how safe it is first. Alright, I've had enough of the puns as well. Now before we dive in, I just want to recap for those of you who are new to this space, what exactly is Bitcoin? In short, Bitcoin is a digital currency created in 2009 and is arguably the inventor of the whole digital currency craze. Unlike normal money, which is backed and valued by the government that prints it, Bitcoin is run independently and has nothing backing it, meaning that their value, or what you can actually spend them on, is determined largely by the users. This means that Bitcoin can be worth anything from a few bucks to almost $20,000 each, as was the case in December 2017. But what can you actually do with Bitcoin? Well, back when it was first created, not a whole lot. However, as time has gone on, more and more companies and individuals are accepting Bitcoin as a legitimate method of paying for their services. It's entirely possible to buy a computer, book a flight, or even just order a pizza with Bitcoin alone. Now, with that out of the way, is Bitcoin or any form of cryptocurrency safe? Well, I'm happy to tell you, yes. Well, mostly. And we'll get to why in a second. We first need to ascertain, what do people really mean by safe? Is it the worry of losing your money? Is it the worry of people being able to trace or track your money? Maybe you're watching this video because you've heard of a news story that someone lost their hard drive and lost thousands of dollars of coins and now they can never get it back. Let me start by taking the example of the Bitcoin that was lost on a hard drive story. One of the simple things that people don't understand is there are lots of different ways to store and secure your coins. Now, in that instance where the person had all his coins on his hard drive, they were on his hard drive and no one else could access them without his private keys. He didn't have these private keys, so he wasn't able to restore those coins to somewhere else. So to conclude with that, not only can you store your Bitcoins in a physical location, beyond a hard drive or a server, you can have something called private keys in which, irrespective of the hard drive for example, you could restore those keys to another device or location. So it's not quite as simple as if you lose your hard drive or your computer dies, your coins are gone forever. That's strictly not true. Now check out my video on how to store Bitcoin here. I've put it in the description below as well as the top right corner of your screen. There's also a lot of terminology misconceptions around this. So maybe the best example for this might be, let's say you were on a bus one day and you had your wallet stolen. You wouldn't ever say that your bank account had been hacked, right? You just lost it while you're on the bus. Similarly, that's kind of how people end up getting all these things in crypto and Bitcoin confused. Now you have to understand that the underlying blockchain of Bitcoin has never been hacked, it's never had a false transaction, and it's one of the most secure data records on Earth. So this all really boils down to one thing. When Satoshi Nakamoto developed Bitcoin and subsequently all the other coins that came after it, it was in order to remove the need for banks, remove the need for third parties to effectively have us ask, why do I need to go through a bank to be able to pay you? I should just be able to pay you directly, right? So as a byproduct of removing that third party, as it stands today, you can't go to the Bitcoin bank people and say, hey, I sent the payment to the wrong person, can I get my money back please? That doesn't really exist. There is not that facility, and there may never be, particularly for certain coins. Now, as you can already tell, this can become quite a long explanation discussion, which I've had many a time. But to get to the point, there's three main reasons why Bitcoin is safe. Number one, Bitcoin is encrypted and secure. And I'm not just talking about your normal run-of-the-mill type of encryptions. Bitcoin is encrypted and backed with a special system called the blockchain. Blockchain uses volunteers, otherwise known as nodes, and a whole bunch of them to work together to encrypt the transactions that happen on the Bitcoin network. And in doing so, They make sure that all personal information is kept hidden away from spying eyes, and even if hackers do manage to get into the system, there's nothing of value to steal. Number 2, Bitcoin is public. Now you may be thinking, wait, that doesn't sound safe to me. But by public, we mean all the transactions are transparent and available to the public even if the people involved are anonymous. This means that no one can cheat, scam, or otherwise fraud the system. They're also immutable and irreversible. So once you get your Bitcoins or sell them, no one can go and demand their money back. With Bitcoin, it's like having thousands of people watching your actual wallet to make sure no one tries to steal anything. And number 3, Bitcoin is decentralized. Bitcoin has servers all over the world and over 10,000 nodes keeping track of all the transactions happening on the system. And that's important because it means if something was to happen to one of the servers or nodes, the others can pick up the slack. It also means trying to hack into one of the servers is pointless. There's nothing that you could steal that the other nodes and servers couldn't prevent, unless you happen to control 51% of the nodes, otherwise called the 51% attack, which, well, let's just not go into. It's not impossible, but a terribly unlikely situation. Now you've heard me mention the word blockchain, and again, if you're completely new to this space, I'll quickly break it down for you. Blockchain is the secret ingredient that makes Bitcoin possible. It's also the main tool that ensures the whole system is safe and sound. Going into all the details of blockchain would need a video in its own right, so for now, let's just keep it nice and simple here. Blockchain is a public encryption method that keeps transactions safe and ensures that each one is unique. So here's a question. Why can't people just use Control and C, right? To basically copy some kind of code to get more Bitcoins. It's because the blockchain makes sure that each Bitcoin is unique by putting them all in a universal ledger. And that ledger keeps track of how many Bitcoins there are in each wallet. The system knows if a Bitcoin is acquired through any means other than trading or mining, and if it is, it simply has no value and it won't show up on the ledger. But keeping all that information private and anonymous is important too. But the reason we call it a blockchain is because each transaction, when it's encrypted, is sent to join a block of other transactions. Once it joins the block, it becomes impossible to change or modify. That means that even if you access the blockchain, you couldn't say, hack someone into sending you more money, which is essential in ensuring that each Bitcoin that you have is unique and thus valuable. Now, if you were paying attention earlier, you might have heard me say Bitcoin is safe mostly. What I mean to say by that is, technically it is. Bitcoin is incredibly volatile though. One could really argue that Bitcoin, while secure and encrypted, is not a safe way to store money simply because of just how volatile it really is. With no regulatory bodies, a $10,000 Bitcoin could be worth as little as $5,000 in a matter of days. Now, while Bitcoin has gone through phases of stability, so far it's never lasted longer than a few months. And while the volatility can be exciting, after all, it could also gain in value, right? It also means that you're always at risk of taking some serious losses if you're not careful. Plus, because this is such a new concept, it is inevitable that things do go wrong every once in a while. For example, one famous crypto exchange has been unable to access the money it owes to customers because the owner and the only person who knew the password to the system died unexpectedly. Sometimes security can really be a double-edged sword. But with that being said, volatility can also be a beautiful thing if you know how to play it right. So for example, if you're leverage trading can become very fruitful in profits, especially if you're leverage trading the right way. A great example of this is using Oracle's 1-minute war trading methods. And I'll put a link to the Oracle down in the description below, as well as in the cards in the top right corner. There's also another reason why Bitcoin might not be safe for you. And that's because Bitcoin isn't anonymous, contrary to what many people seem to first think. While Bitcoin does disguise your personal information, it doesn't disguise the address of your wallet. That means you're not anonymous, you're pseudonymous. And someone could, in theory, use clues and hints to track down your personal information. Granted, this is definitely not an easy thing to do, but it's not impossible. That's why if you do want to stay private when using Bitcoin, you shouldn't be forthcoming with information they could use to track your purchase, like KYC and that kind of thing. This is exactly why I did a review on Paxful a few days ago. It's a great platform to stay somewhat more anonymous than the usual steps, such as Coinbase. Finally, another very common question that lies parallel to is Bitcoin safe is, can my Bitcoin get stolen? And the answer is yes, of course. Just because Bitcoins are broadly secure on a system level, it doesn't mean hackers can't steal coins from individuals. Here are some examples. Phishing, and that's phishing with a PH by the way, is always dangerous to your wallet, no matter what kind of coins you keep in there. A fake website could trick you into sharing your login details with hackers, who could then drain your Bitcoin wallet dry. Of course, there are always more conventional scams as well, like spoofing, where people pretend to sell something, take your payment, and then refuse to deliver what they offered. Thirdly, there's no shortage of malware out there that targets Bitcoins and Bitcoin wallets. If any of these nasty bugs manage to get into your system, hackers will quickly get access and steal your precious coins. And finally, it's even possible to steal wallet keys from cold storage, which is where Bitcoins are kept when they're not being used, although this method is still fairly experimental. They sound nasty, but there's no reason to really fear, to be quite honest with you. With good protection methods, you can stay a hell of a lot safer. Check out my videos on how to store Bitcoin and what is 2FA to see just some of those best methods to keep your coins safe. Again, I've linked them into the card on the top right corner of your screen. You will also just need to use a little common sense and use trustworthy vendors to avoid things like spoofing. So the reality of it is that the kind of authority and the responsibility most critically falls upon your own shoulders. The point being is that losing your coins in this sector usually comes down to human error. It usually comes down to the lack of information, and it's no more dangerous than someone having their credit card details stolen in another place or people getting another thing stolen in different locations. The reality of it is under the right circumstances, Bitcoin and crypto can be one of the safest ways to store finance. It's just that a lot of misconceptions lie around the wider system, and it's often a misunderstanding that makes people think that it's inherently dangerous, and that's not exactly the case. Now, after all this, you may be wondering, should I buy Bitcoin? Well, that's totally your call. Remember, I'm not your financial advisor. There are so many reasons you can trust Bitcoin as we explored above, but there are also some reasons to be slightly skeptical as well. I get it. After all, nothing is perfect, right? But if you do decide to invest, be ready for all kinds of highs and lows, and don't be shy to do some research from what Bitcoin is to how to keep your crypto safe and where's best to buy Bitcoin. Just click on my playlist, the Bitcoin Basics series, to get a head start. If everything's done correctly and securely, there won't be much to worry about, especially if you show a little common sense. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Don't forget to like and comment on the video below. It really does mean a lot to me. And subscribe if you can to the channel and hit that notification bell just to be completely up to date with all new videos that I publish, all related to do with cryptocurrency, passive income, and ultimately your financial freedom. So until I see you on the next one, have a great weekend. Cheers.